Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. I'm Brian, and I've actually been trying to make this video for, I don't know, the last 4 weeks or so. So hopefully this one takes. If you've watched the last video on my channel, I mentioned that I'm a multipotentialite, which means that I'm interested in a lot of different things, and it's more than just a passing curiosity. You know, it's normal for people to think, oh, that's pretty interesting, I wonder how that works. And you know, I watch how it's made just like the rest of you. But for me, I want to do a little bit more. I want to get my hands dirty and actually learn some of these things. So I mentioned that I have a lot of different ideas of things to do, and you know, ideally I want to turn them into things that you know, make money for me, make people's lives better, that sort of thing. And the big question is, how do you balance trying to do all that with the reality that you can't just spend 20 minutes on something and have it necessarily be valuable, right? You need to put a significant amount of time and actually make sure that you're solving a problem for at least yourself or other people, and truly solving the problem, and not just building a thing that nobody cares about. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the process that I go through when I'm evaluating different options. I went through it with Valence, which is a startup. I turned it into a startup, and I've been working on that for quite a while. It's actually the process I went through with a few other things that for one reason or another didn't pan out. It's not that I necessarily lost interest in them. I determined that the path that I was going down wasn't the right path for me at the time, and different sorts of things. You know, and that's fine, right? Our lives change, things happen, we're in different situations, that sort of thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're a bad multipotentialite, or that you're doing it wrong or anything like that, right? You know, let's stop the rambling. Let's talk specifically the process that I go through. Actually, let me talk about a process that was recommended to me, and it has some merits, but why I don't think it necessarily works for multipotentialites. And it's basically a series of questions. All of these frameworks are a series of questions. But this one is the questions: is it specific? Can I make this? Are people spending money on this? How will I get 25 customers, 250 customers? Or if it's a B2C type product, you know, a consumer facing product, those numbers are an order of magnitude larger. Is it sustainable? Meaning, can I keep doing this? And will it continue to support itself, right? Something that doesn't scale is, you know, a lot of companies right now that got really high funding over the last few years are realizing that they just can't make money at scale, right? So that's something to think about as well. Am I the right person? You know, there are some things you might have ideas that you are just not the right person for the idea. Like, let's say you really hate cooking, but you have a great idea for a food. Maybe you're not the right person for it. And then I have some columns on my board for ready for execution and executing. Basically, if it meets all of those criteria, gets through all those questions, that means it's ready to go. You know, it's just a matter of funding and time and that sort of thing. But the reason I don't think this framework works for multipotentialite, and why I've actually amended it considerably, is it's very idea focused. It assumes that you basically you've come up with a solution, and now you're just trying to figure out, am I the right person to do it, right? Is the time right? Is it, you know, it's very focused on getting from solution to execution. And that's really not the problem that multipotentialites have, right? We are we can learn anything. We know we can learn anything. We can do anything. There may be some things we don't like doing, so that's a valid part of it. But the question is really, how much of my time is this going to take up? Is it going to take longer than the attention that I have to give to it, to get to a point where I can start to build momentum on top of it? So for me, things like lean product development really make sense, right? Can I do a little bit of work, get it in front of people, see their excitement, see their eyes widen, see them actually use it? So that encourages me to do the next iteration on it, and I can continue to build on that enjoyment, excitement, and just keep it going. That's what happened with Valence and why I continued doing it. And some of the previous companies, either it wasn't there, or it exhausted the situation, exhausted the momentum that there was to be gained. So I've amended my framework to be a little more targeted and a little more focused on the who and the why, as opposed to the how. Well, the who, the why, the what. I still answer those questions for how, because that is, some of those questions are things that I do still struggle with. I'm not a salesperson by nature. I'm an engineer. I can do sales, but it doesn't come innately to me like it does to other people. Other people can just hop on the phone and start talking to people. I have to prepare. I have to be ready to talk about that. And once I'm in my element, I can have those conversations, but it's not something that comes naturally to me like it does to other people. So I do still need to think through those things. I need to think through, the implementation that I'm going to put into a project, both what code I'm going to write for it, and how I'm going to scale it, and how I'm not going to scale it too quickly, because that's something that'll kill projects before they get off the ground, right? Start with something that works. And we'll get into that in future videos, because some of the projects that I've done in the past, I did try to scale them technology-wise too quickly. We'll talk about some of those projects. So my new questions are, well, I basically have 4 questions, and then there's all the how stuff, right? Again, the how comes naturally to me. I do have a bunch of questions to guide me, but that's not what I'm terribly concerned with when I'm vetting an idea. So it's who, why, and then 2 what's. And the reason is basically not necessarily to determine if I am or am not going to do something, but why am I going to do a particular project, right? If the who is just me, maybe that's fine. But then it really focuses my energy or my attention into just solving the problem for me. I don't need to overscale it to a solution that will work for many different situations, because the only situation I care about is my situation. So as an example, a few years back, I was putting together videos for a virtual conference. This was 2020. I was running a conference. It was totally virtual. All the speakers sent me their videos in a standard video format, and I wrote a script to put some branding at the beginning and end. I think I told this story already in a previous video. I wrote a little Perl script because I just needed to solve my problem. Now, as I was thinking about it, I realized that maybe other people would have a similar problem, but I figured I would cross that bridge when I got there, right? It made sense for me to solve my problem, to kind of explore the problem space and think about what maybe would make sense if I wanted to scale it at some point. And that's one of the ideas that I have here on my iPad is, can that sort of thing scale to be valuable to other people, right? Kind of a nonlinear video editor, but in very specific ways. Like a template is, you just want to put the same thing at the beginning and end. Maybe that's one preset, those sorts of things. But it hasn't met all the other questions yet. I haven't really given it much thought. Again, I just solved the question, just solved the issue for me. So that's who. Make sure you know who you're solving it for. one person, yourself, someone else, your spouse, friend, whatever, or multiple people, coworkers, a whole industry, a particular market segment, very specific group of people. And along with that, how are you going to find them? How are you going to talk to them? If you don't know how you're going to find them and talk to them, is it even really a specific group? Is it even really a who? The next is why, right? So why do you want to talk to this group of people? Why do you want to solve this particular group of people's problems? What problems do you perceive, and why do you think they want to solve them? A lot of times this will come out of conversations you have with those people. And realistically, it should come out of conversations with those people, whether you know it or not. One way or another, it ends up being an observation, right? And this is where most of our ideas come from. You figure, I saw a person doing something, I think there's a better way. Well, isn't it an actual pain point for them? Are they trying to spend money on it? Are they willing to spend money on it? Are they trying to solve it? Those sorts of things. Why does it affect them? Why does it impact them? And in some ways, I think that can feed back into who, because some people might feel a problem particularly acutely, and it just bugs them to no end, and they really need to solve it. Whereas other groups of people have the same problem and could benefit from the same solution, but they don't really care all that much. They're not actively trying to solve it. It's just a minor inconvenience. Similarly to minor inconvenience, maybe some of those groups of people have other things that they're using that solve it just as well. They don't need another tool because they have one that works, which could be just manual effort. And that's the third question, is what other options solve the same problems? And there are two types of things that can solve the same problem that you're thinking about: competitors and replacements. So, for instance, if you're thinking about building an email marketing campaign manager, there are many different options for that, right? MailChimp comes to mind, Constant Contact. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. There's another one I'm thinking of. But there are many different options for that. So those are competitors, but alternatives or replacements are just manually sending emails, right? If you have a list of 20 people, just BCC them and send an email. Maybe that's sufficient. But if you have a list of hundreds of people, then MailChimp and Constant Contact start to become really attractive, even the paid versions. So if you're trying to build something to fit into that market, you should think about both and the benefits and trade-offs that your solution has compared to those, right? Assuming that you've identified the who and the why. Why are people frustrated with some of those issues? And that could be a good way to find the who and the why. Who is people who use MailChimp, Constant Contact, don't use those, right? The why could be they're really frustrated with the way MailChimp does something. I don't know. There's probably something that people are frustrated with MailChimp for. And for whatever reason, they also don't want to move to Constant Contact. I don't know what that is, but maybe if that's your passion or if that's something you want to investigate, that's the route you go. And then finally, so question 4 is, what is your actual idea? And what makes it different from those competitors and replacement? Why would someone choose yours over what they're already doing? What makes them willing to pay money over those other things? This is where you start to think about what features are absolutely essential. And I even don't like to think about them in terms of features anymore. I used to. I'm an engineer. I love building features. But what problem am I solving? What's the most important problem that this needs to solve? And what does that mean? What does it mean to have this problem solved for me? What goes away? What is reduced? What is increased, right? How do I measure that I've solved this problem? Am I saving time? Am I saving money? Am I making money? You can't make time, so that's out. But yeah, what is your unique insight into this problem that makes your solution far and away better than the alternatives? And then you get into the how, right? So that's basically what I go through. And you can, well, I was going to show you my screen, but I'm actually not going to show you my screen. Those are not necessarily easy questions to solve, easy questions to answer. Those might be hard questions to answer. And that's kind of the point. If you can't answer those questions, maybe it's not something worth spending your time on. Or maybe you answered some of the earlier questions wrong. If you have trouble finding a who, maybe the who really is just yourself. If you have trouble finding a why, maybe it's not a real problem. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a multipotentialite, you might just want to do it for fun. Totally fine. But again, that changes the narrative. That changes what you're doing. It's not just you're building a thing for, or you aren't building a thing for a specific market. You're building a thing because you want the experience of building the thing. And now it's a different product. It's enjoyment. It's education, right? Even though the end product is a thing, you are the who, you are the consumer, and what you are consuming is education, enjoyment, that sort of thing. This video ran kind of long. I see why I had trouble finishing it before. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. If you have questions, drop a comment below. The comments on the last video were really interesting, really cool. I enjoyed reading them. I think I responded to some, if not all of them. But yeah, it's always good to see people watching the videos and interacting with them and talking about their experiences being a multipotentialite, working with multipotentialites. If you have thoughts, comments, other things you want me to do videos on, leave a comment down below. I appreciate that. Again, appreciate the engagement this channel's been getting. Hopefully it's interesting and engaging for all of you. And if it is, please like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And I would love nothing more than to promise that the next video will be sooner than this one was compared to the last one. But life happens. I can't make any promises, but I will make the promise that if it's going to take a long time, I will do a short and just say, hi, I'm, this is what's going on. These are the things I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about doing that anyway. So let me know if you want me to do that in the comments down below. I realized that was the thing, and I forgot that was a thing and that I wasn't using it. So hope you all are well, and I'll see you in the next one.